Hot off the presses, the brackets are out. It's Sunday night. March Madness is officially here. This is episode 193 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy. We do have a bracket challenge coming up. There will be a link in the description and on our social media. Make sure to follow us there at MBBpod on Twitter. And Brett, even with brackets coming out, we had some chaotic news come out that we are going to come into with other sports. But a quick recap how we did last episode. I finally won a pick of the pod, so I'm 1-7 on the year with that. Win a perfect 3-0 on the episode. And you only have one loss yourself with your long list of bets.
Yeah, not too bad, Higgins. It was a very good Friday afternoon, Friday evening of betting college hoops for me. I enjoyed that Knicks game as they kept it pretty close in their loss to Memphis, Higgins. So, look, you and I had a very good Friday, and let's hopefully we can carry that over into this week.
Hopefully we can carry that into this episode. I'm feeling good. Let's talk some news, because even though we have brackets out, and we're going to talk about those in a minute, Brett, somehow there's bigger news in the sports world where, of course, Tom Brady's not actually retiring. He's coming back. And it comes right at the time where earlier this weekend, his last touchdown ball was sold in an auction for over $500,000, Brett. After that was sold, this news comes out. Terrible timing for that sale, I think.
Yeah, that's a tough go there for the guy that bought the football. But if you bought in on the Buccaneers prior to Tom Brady coming back, Higgins, quite the amount of value as, we're seeing reports that they've jumped all the way up from 25 to 1 to 8 to 1. Not every sports book has released the updated NFL odds. Obviously, they're all working on the NCAA basketball as well. So, you'll have to go line shopping here a little bit, Higgins, but that's quite the leap just because of a quarterback. The Buccaneers still have 20-something free agents to sign. So they brought back Chris Godwin. They brought back Tom Brady. Ali Marpet, the guard, the Pro Bowl guard, is retired, Higgins. Maybe he comes out of retirement too. But they still have some work to do.
And Brett, you actually bring up something that I should have mentioned a little bit earlier, our Beginners Boulevard. We're talking about futures bets this episode. That's the odds update that you just mentioned with the NFL. And its futures bet is a wager on an event, series, or reward that will finish in the future down the line. It's not a game bet for a game that night. It's like betting the NBA championship, the NCAA championship, the Super Bowl champion, things like that, an MVP even.
Yeah, exactly. That is what is considered a futures wager, Higgins. So not a nightly game or anything, but more of a season outlook bet.
Tom Brady definitely affects the futures in those Super Bowl props, though. Absolutely. And in the NFL also, we got some other news. I mean, there's not the free agency opening quite yet. That's going to be later this week. But Kirk Cousins is coming back to Minnesota, a one-year deal, close to $35 million. We don't know the exact numbers quite yet, but Brett, Kirk Cousins back in purple again, and a name that we hear a lot about. I don't know if he's the right quarterback up there, but we're going to see it for another year with that young core in the wide receivers that they got.
Yeah, a little confusing kind of how they announced this one, Higgins, because he was under contract for this season, and I guess they extend him for a year. But, the way it's worded is he signs a one-year contract. I don't know. A little confusing language there. But anyway, he signs the one-year extension, so he's comfortable. He's not playing on a one-year deal. Minnesota's got another year and a half here to kind of decide what they're going to do with him as well. See how the marriage works with the new coach up there, Higgins. Kevin O'Connell from the Rams. So, should be interesting for Minnesota. I think they have to be thinking, they can compete with what they have up there. You and I personally may not look at them as Super Bowl contenders, but they were a playoff team or in playoff contention all the way up until week 17 last year. So, look, this is a team that's got to think ball bounces a different way on a few plays a year ago. Maybe we're in the postseason, maybe we're, in the second round. Dalvin Cook stays healthier. Maybe he only misses 2 games instead of however many he misses, right? Like, things break differently in a different way. So, I wouldn't be buying in on Minnesota, but I could see why, they might think, oh, we're closer than we showed last season.
And NFL free agency starts on Wednesday, so this is the last chance some of these teams have to lock up some of these players that might even be on restricted free agent contracts. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see a lot of NFL news, but Brett, because the MLB lockout ended, we got some big MLB news. And one thing we talked about last episode was the Mets in that 4th tier of the luxury tax. Well, they traded for Chris Bassett, signed Adam Ottavino, and it looks like they're going to be above that luxury tax and in that 4th tier.
Yeah, quite a big weekend for trades. Higgins, Minnesota made 2 trades, getting Kiner Falefa from the Texas Rangers. He, of course, won a Gold Glove at third base. Texas moves him to shortstop. Then I believe they signed Corey Seager this offseason. So Kiner Falefa on the move to Minnesota. Minnesota also adds Sonny Gray to bolster their pitching staff a little bit, Higgins. And then we saw some notable moves. UC Kikuchi pitched for the Mariners. 5-pitch guy, Higgins, which is important in Major League Baseball, can throw 5 pitches. Wasn't, great with the Mariners, but was certainly better last year than he had shown in previous years. So hopefully the Blue Jays, he can continue to build on that. And the Cubs, thought to be in the Carlos Correa sweepstakes, Higgins. Well, they go and get Andrelton Simmons, who was formerly of the Minnesota Twins. Pretty good player, Higgins. Obviously not Correa or Trevor Story, but was thought to be the 3rd best available middle infielder left on the market. So pretty good addition for the Cubs, but probably not the sexy name Cubs fans were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some big names out there like Correa, like some Freddie Freeman. I mean, there's going to be some big waves. There's still going to be some big futures movements in these MLB signings with some of these big names, I think, Brett, as we approach opening day. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very active March. We're going to be getting a lot of news in terms of professional sports and some of these signings with the NFL and the MLB. And then we're going to get some fantastic basketball with March Madness. We're going to get into that in a second. But let's talk about our NBA picks first. How about that?
Let's do it, Higgins. There are a ton of NBA games on Monday night. And let's be honest, this is probably the last day of the week we're focused in on the NBA because March Madness, I guess, officially starts Tuesday. The real first day is Thursday, but we've got the play-in games Tuesday and Wednesday night. So, Monday night, NBA, I'm all locked in. Higgins, I'm going to start off with Nuggets at Sixers because Philadelphia, coming into this game, they played on Sunday night. They actually lost in overtime to the Orlando Magic. So, tough game for the Sixers on Sunday. Now they have to go back, and Joel Embiid is in an MVP matchup here against Jokic. Give me the 4.5 points with the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets could win this one outright, but I'm just going to take the points and a little cushion because this game is in Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Nuggets, they started really slow against the spread to start the season. Really picked it back up, but if you look at them on the season, their overall record doesn't indicate how well they've been playing so far against it. I mean, they've been 3-3, so they're right around 50-50. I think this is going to be a great game. I could see it being within the basket. I like the fact that it's a 4.5 point spread for you, so I think you're on the right side of that.
All right. Appreciate it, Higgins.
I'm going to go with a West Coast team that's on an East Coast travel right now, the Portland Trail Blazers against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks right now hosting the Indiana Pacers on Sunday night. They are hosting Portland immediately on Monday. The line plus 12.5. I think that's a little big for a back-to-back, especially when Trae Young's carrying the load on Sunday. Maybe they give him the night off on Monday after the back-to-back. I don't know. Portland plus 12.5. I just think it's too big. I'm going to be taking the points.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as well, Higgins. Same strategy as me, taking the team with the night off coming in versus the team that had to play the night before. So I obviously like that as well with the points. And then I am on two more games, but I'll stick kind of in middle America here with the Hornets and the Thunder. The Hornets travel to OKC, Higgins. Thunder playing really competitive basketball right now. Hornets struggling a little bit here. Not that they're not in games, but they're losing some games they need to win. Struggling shooting some nights, Higgins. So I like OKC plus 8 in this spot at home against the Hornets team that, I think they're talented. I think they're the more talented team, but just not always bringing it every night.
Well, just Brett, we need to be worried about what uniforms the Thunder are going to be wearing on Monday night, because on Sunday night, the Thunder are hosting the Grizzlies, and when both teams came out for the tip-off, both teams were in white, and no one knew what to do.
Yeah, OKC trailing 10 late in that game, so look, I'm taking a team on a back-to-back here. A little bit of a tough spot, but I think the Thunder just get it done against the Hornets. Well, I don't really think they get it done. I think they cover the 8, Higgins. I think they cover the 8.
Okay, fair enough. I have one more NBA pick on Monday, and it's going to be in the Bulls-Kings game. The Bulls been playing pretty well for me recently when I've found them on the spread. They're only 4.5-point favorites here, so I'm going to take them again in Sacramento. Now, the Kings, they've played a little better against the spread, even though they're on a 4-game losing streak overall. The Bulls only 4.5-point favorites. I think they're going to come into Sacramento. They're going to get a bigger win. They've been playing pretty well. Did you see that dart of a pass that Lonzo Ball threw for the dunk in transition the other night? Caruso got the steal. He was on his back, tossed it up to Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball basically throws a basketball like it's a dodgeball all the way down the court to Zach LaVine for the dunk. It was a hysterical motion of events, but it just kind of shows the Bulls are in what's the word for it? They're in sync right now.
I think Chicago is an interesting team, Higgins. We'll see what they look like come playoff time when the game's a little slower, but DeRozan obviously having a fantastic season for the Bulls. I think they're better than Sacramento for sure. Sacramento's basically been the exact same team since post-trade deadline when they kind of went all in there. So we will see what happens, but I like the Bulls here as well, Higgins, if I were to be on this game. Last game in the NBA before we turn over to a little college hoops, Higgins, because that's obviously the big story on a Monday. Everyone wants to talk brackets and whatnot. But we have to get to Monday night's games. So, Bucks Jazz, last game for us on this Monday. And Higgins, Bucks, road team here, 1-point favorites. Look, I eat a point for minus 110. I just think it's worth it because I don't think this game necessarily comes down to the last shot. But I've seen nothing that any of the main Bucks will be out for this one. So there's no reason for me to believe that the Bucks can't win this game by 4 to 6 points, make it a 2-3 possession game, Higgins, and call it a night.
I mean, I backed a different Central team in the Bulls, but the Bucks recently overtook them and are sitting atop that division and atop the East right now.
Yeah, Bucks are playing really good basketball, started stringing together a few wins. They had some trouble doing that earlier in the year, but they've been playing well.
Sorry, I said they were atop the East. That's wrong. The Heat are in first, followed by the Sixers, then the Bucks. So it's close. It's very close in that top 4 spots, though, in the East right now.
Yeah, East should be really competitive, Higgins. Although I think Brooklyn in that Sixers matchup may have stolen a lot of the thunder, and they may look like the team to beat right now.
Meanwhile, the Suns in the West, they're the first team in the NBA to clinch a spot in the playoffs right now. They have a 7.5 game lead in the West, 53-14 overall as a team. They're red hot.
Yeah, then they're playing right now. So by the time someone's listening to this podcast, that will change their record by either a win or a loss. But let's hop into the college hoops.
Absolutely. March Madness, the brackets are out. And Brett, before we go into the individual games that we have for Tuesday and Wednesday before the bracket actually fully starts on Thursday with the round of 64, I do want to talk about the futures that we have in the NCAA tournament, because Gonzaga's the number 1 overall seed. They're sitting at plus 350, followed by Arizona. But then after that, it drops off and you're getting at least 10-1 odds, whether it be Duke, Baylor, Kansas. I mean, Duke at 3rd, even though they're a 2 seed, that's very interesting. I think they have a tough bracket with Gonzaga. My favorite 2 seed, personally, Brett, is all the way down in 9th in terms of best odds. Villanova at plus 2,200. I think that's some of the best value. I think their bracket over in the South with Arizona in the number 1 seed is a little bit easier. I think Villanova's path, at least to the Sweet 16, might look a little bit easier than Duke's even. So I'm taking Villanova. I do like Duke, so I'm putting a unit there as well because it is Coach K's last year. I think there is some magic there. I think Duke's at least going to put on a performance and go fairly deep. And then my Hail Mary, Brett, is way down there, and that's Iowa at plus 4,000. I think the Big Ten really impressed me in terms of the quality of basketball we saw in that conference tournament. Iowa coming out on top. I think they might be able to ride the red-hot streak that they're on after coming through that conference tournament and maybe make a run in the dance.
Yeah, Keegan Murray, great player at Iowa. So, definitely a team to watch. Could make a run. Richmond, not an easy first-round matchup by any stretch of the imagination, but Iowa's definitely got the most talented guy on the court, so good for them there. And once you win the first one, Higgins, you can start fading away a little bit. So that's a good number to take some hedge opportunities at. Iowa probably going to be favored for a round or 2 here in March Madness. So, you even take that 12-5 upset opportunity, hedge off a little bit there, and hedge off in the second round. See if
second round they potentially have a Providence matchup that could be very tough.
Yeah, that could be an interesting game. So we'll see what happens there. I'm with you. I like Nova a lot in this tournament. Look, I think Arizona's super talented, to be honest with you, Higgins, but I like having a guy like Colin Gillespie leading the backcourt in March. And, I see you're on Duke as well. You could probably take those $5 and just send it over to me if you want. I'll pay you back, too.
All right, well, I haven't completely gotten through my bracket yet. These were just some of the futures odds that I kind of liked and the guys that I picked out before the bracket even honestly came out. Have you gotten to filling out your bracket fully yet? I mean, they did just come out a few hours ago before we started recording this.
Yeah, I've picked Nova to win, but I kind of, I guess it doesn't necessarily mean I believe Nova has the best chance to win, Higgins, but I want to pick the same team as everyone else. I want to have the opportunity to win my bracket pool by being a little bit different, right? You have to be correct. You have to be right. So you can't take crazy shots in the dark, but I anticipate less people will have Villanova winning than, say, Gonzaga, say, Baylor. And truthfully, I think this is a tournament where one of the top seed wins the whole thing. but probably not four number ones or even four number ones and twos getting into the Final Four. I would look for to at least have a 5 or a 4. If you want to get crazy, throw in a 7 or a 10. We've seen that the
I'd
last
say
few
the Sweet
years.
16 is going to be very interesting. We could see some of the higher numbers. The Elite Eights, Final Fours, I don't see really bigger than a 6 seed maybe getting to that point. But it's going to be very competitive, I think. I think it's going to be a very competitive. Ultimately, I do think you're right. It's going to be probably one of the number 1 or 2 seeds that does win it all, though.
Yeah, that would be my guess, and we'll probably have some crazy matchup in a Final Four game where it'll be like a 1 seed versus an 8 seed, and we're like, how did we get here? But that's the nature of a single elimination tournament, and also
My luck, it'll be Richmond.
Well, hopefully you hedged.
Well, hopefully I hedge, yes, absolutely. But Brett, we can get into some of our Tuesday and Wednesday round of 68 first 4 games, and Wyoming versus Indiana. I leaked some of my methodology for this pick with my Iowa pick in that futures bet, but I think that Big Ten was really competitive. Indiana played a really interesting game as well against Iowa, 80-77, losing in that conference tournament. So I think -3.5 against Wyoming. We're going to see the Hoosiers get to the round of 64. It's not going to be the Cowboys.
Yeah, Higgins, I think, again, obviously Indiana is going to have, the higher ranked players, the better athletes, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Wyoming was a pretty good team this year. There's some advantage of playing at the altitude in Laramie in some of their games, but I just thought, generally speaking, Wyoming was pretty good. We saw them in the top 25 at times this year, so I do not think this is going to be an easy game, so it's a stay away from me. But look, I think if you're going to side in the NCAA tournament with a guy that can maybe take over a game or just flat out be the best player on the court, I think that's a good strategy. And Indiana definitely has that guy in
Jackson Davis.
Yeah, exactly, Tracy Jackson Davis.
Yeah, and it's at Dayton, Ohio, too, which, although this is a neutral site, that's much closer to Indiana than it is to Wyoming. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Indiana fans travel for that game, and it's a much more Hoosier color than brown and yellow. So it should be an interesting matchup. I like a few of these matchups, Brett, and we're actually going to be talking about 3 of the 4, aren't we? That's our only Tuesday night one, though.
Yeah, exactly. Texas Southern and Corpus Christi is the matchup on Tuesday night that we're kind of skipping over here, Higgins. No disrespect to those schools. They've worked very hard to get here. It's just, and I haven't watched very much Texas Southern or Texas Corpus Christi.
Absolutely.
So
It'll be a big Texas podcast. If we had a Texan on the podcast, we'd be talking about that. But we don't know either of those schools.
Absolutely. I know Corpus Christi is the Islanders. Did you know it's an island? It's on an island in Texas? Yeah.
No.
There you go, on the Gulf Coast there. So good for them, the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. But Higgins, Wednesday night, Bryant faces Wright State. And what if I told you Bryant had the leading scorer in the country, a guy named Peter Kiss? Just really fun player to watch, honestly, Higgins.
Yes.
So I'm taking him in the 2 points. I'd like to see him have a shot at number 1, just keep shooting, see what happens. And I think Jared Grasso, good coach there at Bryant. So I think Bryant +2 seems like a good shot for me to take. And it'll have me interested in those Wednesday night games, which is always an added bonus.
Why not just take the +1 or 110 money line then?
Yeah, you know me, Higgins. I like to just protect myself. I always take the points, never give points back.
I get you. I'm going with the other Wednesday night game, Notre Dame versus Ruckus. Now, Brett, you'd have to come into Pennsylvania to bet this game. I get my lines because I'm in Pennsylvania. and I can bet against Rutgers in this scenario, and that's what I'm going to do. It's minus 110 on either side on the money line, or I could get Notre Dame plus 1.5 for minus 125. I don't want that juice. I think Notre Dame wins this game, so I'm just going to take them on the money line, take the minus 110, and I think we're going to see the Fighting Irish advance onto Thursday's round.
Yeah, this should be an interesting game. I actually think it's really possible that both the winner of the Indiana-Wyoming game, they would play St. Mary's, and the winner of the Notre Dame-Rutgers game facing Alabama. I think it's possible they both get out of the first round, whoever wins those games. You see teams carry a little momentum, having played, a little bit before, two nights before. So I think these are some good teams here in that first four. I think Wyoming's good. Indiana, obviously talented, had a good run in the Big Ten tournament. Rutgers, another team, good run in the Big Ten tournament. Knocked off some very good teams in their home stadium during the regular season. And Notre Dame, Higgins, this would probably surprise you, was like number 2 or 3 in the ACC this year. So one of the better teams, although the ACC wasn't good in a Power 5 conference. So, I think this is a pretty good first four here.
Yeah, I mean, I've said a lot positively about the Big Ten. The reason I'm not sticking with that Big Ten methodology with Rutgers is, one, I can't just be so far backing just one conference like that. I can't pigeonhole myself, I don't think. And also, Rutgers, they haven't been able to cover nearly as well as some of these other Big Ten schools. I mean, Rutgers also lost to Iowa in the conference tournament, but it was by 10. They did not cover, unlike Indiana, who is the other Big Ten team that I am backing. And really, Rutgers is under 500 at covering on the season, whereas Notre Dame's slightly above 500 at covering on the season. So I'm just kind of also going with the trend there, even though both these teams are right around the same when it comes to covering on the spread.
Yeah, I think that's good information. And look, if you like one team a little bit more than the other team, why not back that team? So, it makes sense, Higgins. I don't really have much to add.
Well, typically now we would be transferring into some hockey talk, but there was only really one line, and Brett, it's really turning into basketball season right now. Not a lot of people are going to be paying attention to some hockey lines. Might be some good value if you can find them there, since not a lot of people are going to be paying attention, including the books. But with only one line out on Sunday night, we're just going to skip right over that. Go to the Levy Lock pick of the pod. Brett, we both hit ours, but you had the honors, and we got to stick with that. I'm not superstitious. I might just be a little stitious.
Fair enough, Higgins. So, going back to Wednesday night in the NCAA tournament, the play-in game between Bryant and Wright State, I'm taking the leading scorer in the country, Peter Kiss, and the Bryant Bulldogs, +2. Higgins, we should have a good one. A good few games, actually, here in the first four. But, I think Bryant probably gets this one done on the money line, Higgins, but I'm not giving back any points.
Yeah, I like that pick. I don't know too much about either of those teams that I'm going to stay away personally. For my pick of the pod, it's going to be on Monday night, the Chicago Bulls -4.5 against the Sacramento Kings. Now, the Bulls, they've just been playing really well. They've been in sync. Against the spread, not fantastic necessarily recently, but I think they're going to get back on a trend. When they're the favorite this year, they're 28-13. So they're really impressive when they are favored. And at -4.5, I think this line's only going to grow until later on Monday night. So I'm going to grab it early on Sunday.
All right, I like it, Higgins. Grab it early, and, hopefully we beat the book here even before the game tips.
Hopefully you are right, Brett. Everyone, make sure to join us in our bracket challenge. Link's going to be in the description, or you can find it on our social media at NBBpod on Twitter, at NextBestBet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. It'll be a great one. It'll be a fun March Madness, that's for sure. This has been episode 193 of The Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you guys again soon.